What's going on, everybody? It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors. We got some sit starts for you on the live stream, and we are doing that right now.
Smells like football, baby.
What up, guys? This is Kyle, the Fantasy Football Smackdown. It's Friday for you guys listening to some recorded version, but if you're doing the right thing, you're hanging out with us live, pre-gaming Thursday Night Football. Myself and Bob over the last few weeks have been doing some preview shows, but as I made an announcement on the Smackdown feed, we're mixing it up a bit. Going to be more interactive with you guys, bringing on some cool guests here every week now on this Thursday night live stream. So, Bob, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good. Looking forward to some sit starts. Live streaming is always a good time, especially when we have these awesome guests. None of these guys are new to anybody who's been listening to the shows, but for those who are just tuning in, it's early in the season, give you all a break. We're going to go around the room. You know me. I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three-Toed and on YouTube at Bob's Three-Toed Warriors. That's where you can watch the action. Kyle can be found at Kyle FF Fellas because he's FF lazy and doesn't want to change his tag. And he's even wearing the shirt today for those watching on the YouTube.
I got the throwback shirt, baby.
Bob, why don't you introduce yourself, where you can be found, and what you got going on real quick? The other Bob.
Great. And Bob from I80 Sports. You can find us at i80sports.com or youtube.com/i80sports. Cover NFL, MLS. We have new guys on college football and a group that just launched covering NHL hockey. Find us there.
Awesome. Detroit Beastie, come on with it.
You know me, I'm Chris. I'm in Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Beastie. Bottom of the Barrel is out now. That's my weekly DFS article. It's pinned on my profile, so come chat and hang out and find me there.
There you go. You want to talk about some betting? There's your man. Jernigan, over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me. At Mike Jernigan79 on Twitter. Life has been in the way, so I haven't been super active on fakepigskin.com, but you can find some of my older stuff there. And once I get back to writing on the regular, that's where it'll be.
Awesome. We're going to do live streams every Thursday night, 6:15 p.m. Central Time or 7:15 Eastern or whatever time zone you're at. Calibrate yourself. But that way you can calibrate yourself. That way you can get the information, make those last-minute sit-start decisions if you got the Thursday night game, and get hyped up for football and roll right into it. So grab a beverage, grab your food, grab your laptop,
Cheers.
And let's do this. So cheers it is. All right, over to you, Kyle.
Yeah, man. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is, if you're listening to this on Friday on the re-air and you're missing out, like Bob said, 6:15 Central Time every Thursday now going forward. I'm still going to be dropping a short waiver wire podcast every Tuesday. It's going to be like 15, 20 minutes tops, just super quick to get you set for what you should be looking at off the wire every week. But for now, the preview shows are going to be in this format. Really looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions for the show, you can always hop onto the live stream and drop them there. Or if you're following us on Twitter, you can drop them there as well. But feel free to always hit us up with any of those questions that you have. But for now, man, we're going to be diving into some start sits. So we brought some great guests on. We're going to highlight some players that we like, maybe some players that we want to fade this week. And so that to help you guys set those lineups. So we're not going to dive into every single matchup, every single game, all those breakdowns. But we are going to highlight some of these players that we really like, or maybe we want to avoid heading into the week. And of course, we're looking to head into week 3. So, Bob, the Three-Toed Warrior, why don't you kick it off? This is our first live stream. This is your feed and everything. So why don't you drop the first start here, and we'll kick it around the room.
All right, I'm going to start with a couple here. So let's start with Mitch Trubisky. Guy's got some great games flying up here. And this is one of them. Great opportunity. I got him 11th quarterback. Isn't great, but if you're streaming, it's pretty nice. If you're doing the super flex, it's a great thing. I got him about 9 high from consensus, which is around 20. I think he's having a good game. I think he's playing Atlanta. I know he's playing Atlanta. And Atlanta's good at one thing, not winning games, but putting up a lot of points in an effort to win games. And so if they continue with that, now granted, they played some high scoring offenses themselves. If they continue that, he's going to be trying to keep them in close and chucking the ball himself. And so it should be good. Henry Barbosa, the Samoan says, "What's Jernigan drinking?" Jernigan, what you drinking? Heineken.
Oh, Heineken.
Wiped his
Oh.
Heine with that. All right, and we'll also give Barbosa the Smo in the first question. We'll start in early. Start Drew Sample, Cincinnati tight end, or whoever Mooney is, and Chicago wide receiver. Okay, thank you. I had to look that up for a second. Sample.
Any thoughts from you guys?
Well, if I had to choose one, I would probably be Drew Sample because he is their tight end number one. Whereas in Mooney, there's other people in that offense like David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, even Anthony Miller, who didn't do much last week. But they are in that offense that will see more targets and touches, I would have imagined. And we saw what the rookie Joe Burrow did last week when Sample was in, after went down and was hurt. So Uzoma, a rookie tight end. A rookie quarterback tends to lean on a running back or a tight end like that. So I'm going Sample here.
Yep. We only had one game sample size, but it was good.
Classic.
For you, Bob?
As soon as Uzoma went down, it wasn't only that Sample got targeted, I think 5 times in the next 2 drives. It was that they were in third down opportunities. There were times where the ball needed to be won, and it just seems like he just leaned on him. So I'm going to go Sample, and I'm actually looking for a big game.
There you go. Darren Gray says, "Cheers, fellas! Right back at you." And y'all keep throwing those questions out there. We're more than glad to answer them during the show. Bob, why don't we give you one of your starts? Excuse me.
Oh, so my big start for tonight, is Visca Chenault from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lots of opportunity for him. I think I just checked the report, and Byron Jones is inactive tonight, which means that Xavier Howard, I assume, would be on one of the other wide receivers there. I believe it's Chris Conley, maybe Keelan Cole. So it looks like Chenault is going to have a much easier matchup without Byron Jones. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Anybody? Who's next? Let's go over to you, Detroit BC.
My big start of the week is no surprise. It's Kenyon Drake playing my Lions this weekend in Arizona. As you said in the opening of the show, Atlanta's not good at winning games, but they put up points. The Detroit Lions are not good at anything but giving up points. So it's the exact opposite thing here. So those kind of people that they can dish it out, but they can't take it, and if it has to be a two-way street. I'm fully aware that the Lions are no good, and that's my lifelong dream is to see them win anything. Sunday that's not going to happen. Kyler Murray, the entire Arizona Cardinals offense is a start, and it starts with Drake here. And again, if you have him on your team, you're not going to sit him, especially in such a plus matchup here. I have him around 18 or 20 carries, 85 yards on the ground is his floor this weekend. In a bold prediction I made a few days ago, 140 yards on the ground for Kenyon Drake this Sunday. So fire up Drake, fire up any Cardinal on offense that you can get your hands on this weekend.
Yeah, the early in the season, but the Lions are looking like they like to give up points. So you are correct there.
What else is new?
Right. James Wagner says, late entry. Does anyone like the Browns this week for a solid survivor pick? So to win survivor pick style.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing Washington. I know Washington played tough week 1, got the W, kind of back down to earth against the Cardinals. Browns had 10 days to prepare, so I have no problem taking any team 10 days to prepare against Haskins right now. So I take that in, lock it in. If you're looking for a good DFS play, I know that we mentioned those guys. I mentioned them as the streamer on my waiver wire show. They were only 17% owned. They're probably obviously more owned now. But, the Browns DST and as a pick in Survivor pool, I dig it.
I got a head nod the opposite direction from you, the other Bob.
Yeah, not feeling it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Browns a little later. Washington is a bad football team, but I think this is kind of a mismatch. I think the Browns and Washington kind of go against each other. Like, Browns are a much better team. Washington has a chance. I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit laer.
Awesome.
I like it.
Let's get I like it. Yeah. Let's get one more sit start question here before we head to Jernigan. So he says, DJ, Moore, I assume.
Or
David Johnson.
Probably David Johnson, yeah.
Okay, or David Johnson, or Pittman, or Mike Williams in half PPR. Anybody got preference here?
I'll take that. For me, it's still David Johnson. I know the matchup is a little tough for him this week, but I still think that with Pittman, we saw him have a lot of playing time. That was good, but the numbers weren't necessarily there. And with Williams, I really liked Mike Williams in week 2 because I liked seeing what we saw to Tyrod in week 1, throwing it deep and giving opportunities for those jump balls to Williams. But when Herbert came in, he was running this offense more like we've seen over the last few years, targeting Keenan Allen, getting the running backs involved. So I think Johnson is still the way to go there of those 3.
I'm with you. It goes Johnson, Mike Williams, and Pittman in that order for me.
All right, and he did verify David Johnson was the intention. All good. Thank you, sir. All right, Jernigan, you've got some of my favorite starts, I should say, and a sit that I disagree with, but we'll get there later. So which one are you going with here on your start?
Yeah, we don't got him.
All right.
Journey, if you can hear us, if you want to bounce out and then maybe come back to see if you get the mic going, but we can't hear you. I'll roll into my start as we're getting Mike back connected here. So my start of the week, he's gonna be pretty trendy, I think, from a DFS perspective because his price tag is set pretty low. I've seen him already touted on some DFS articles, but I think this is a guy that you need to start no matter what, even in your regular weekly fantasy leagues, and that's Joshua Kelly. Really saw some nice things out of him the first 2 weeks of the season as we were kind of debating in the offseason whether it was going to be him or Jackson. And right out of the gate, Josh Kelly really stood out and earned his playing time already. He's already tied for 6th in the league in attempts with 35 rush attempts. And he gets the dream matchup this week against the Carolina Panthers. This is a must start. Any running back you can find against the Panthers, you play him. Carolina is already dead last in 2 short games already in the league as far as going up against the run. They're giving up 6 rushing touchdowns through 2 games, 3 to Josh Jacobs in week 1, 3 to the Tampa Bay Bucks last week. But it doesn't stop there. If you flip the calendar back to 2019, over their last 7 games, they've given up 17 rushing touchdowns. They're ungodly horrible against the run. So you got to get Josh Kelly in your lineup. I have him as my running back 17 this week. I'd play him over Mark Ingram, Kareem Hunt, Todd Gurley, David Johnson. This guy is a slam dunk play this week, even in your regular leagues. He's going to be a pretty trendy DFS play, but man, I'm trying to lock Josh Kelly into all my lineups that I have him.
Josh Kelly versus Mike Davis, 17 for each of us, 28 for each of us.
Yeah, I'm slam dunking Josh Kelly.
All right, Kelly versus David. There you go. First wager wall bet.
All right.
How about now, guys? Can
Now
you
we
hear me?
got him.
There you are.
Wow, I don't know what happened there.
That's all good. I think you got offended because I said that I didn't like one of your sits, and so you're like, I can't say anything there.
What's funny is I kept trying to butt in on all the comments we talked about before, and I'm like, are these guys just ignoring me? What's happening right now?
More than likely, yeah.
Well, I thought maybe you blew the mic out trying to get in that conversation about how good the Lions were and trying to defend your team.
Wow. That's all I heard. Wow. My head.
All right, Jernigan, why don't you give us one of your starts for the week?
All right, I'm going to go with Darius Slayton for the Giants. Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, both injured. I mean, we've seen it every year. It seems like some wide receiver on a completely awful team does really well because they have to throw the ball to someone. I think Slayton is going to be really good at some point in his career. He's got the deck kind of stacked against him in New York right now, but he's already in week 1. He had 6 for 102 and 2 touchdowns. So like he's showing flashes of being that guy anyway. I know it's against San Francisco, which a lot of people might look at and think that's a bad matchup, but they are wildly banged up after last week. That offense is going to be struggling without Jimmy G and Raheem Mostert, and Tevin Coleman, and Kittle is still questionable. Then on the defense, Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas are both out for the week, if I'm not mistaken. I think the matchup is going to look tougher on paper than it's actually going to be, and I think they're going to force feed him the ball due to lack of options.
Okay. All right.
I like the call, Jernigan. I think I think this was a matchup that we had kind of, especially when you were looking at Daniel Jones, like, oh boy, he's got San Fran week 3, just piling on the rough matchups for this Giants team. But I think by the time we got here, man, it's looking a little bit different. And when you say, Sterling Shepard's going to be out for the week, he's been placed on IR, so he's going to miss up to 3 weeks. And obviously Saquon Barkley is going to be gone for the Giants as well. So this went from having Barkley and 4 really above average, either average or above average options with the wide receivers and tight ends. And now it's literally just, Slayton, Tate, and Ingram. And but I think on both sides of the ball that 49ers defense being banged up is huge. So I like the call, man.
Yeah, with Bosa and Thomas both out, I'm not sure how much pressure they're even going to get on Jones. And that's
that offensive line is trash.
It is.
The 5 of us on this group chat can get to Daniel Jones right now.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. One quick question from Mr. Darren Gray. I think he's setting his lineup here. We love it. Before I get to my guy. So he says Kelly or McKinnon.
I'll take this one quick and then I'll let these guys jump in on it. But I'll say it now. McKinnon's one of my sits. I think that when I'm seeing where he's being ranked right now, I just don't think he's startable. I think a game script, is going to lean towards San Fran still being up in this game. I know we just talked about that, but I think it's going to be easier for them to lean on Jeff Wilson in this matchup. I don't think the opportunity is going to be there where they're just going to be getting McKinnon involved as much in the passing game. So I got McKinnon at RB 32. I think he's an okay flex if you need, but I'm not playing him over any of the other waiver wire guys from this week, like Davis, Jeff Wilson, even on his own team, Henderson, and Josh Kelly. I'm rolling all of those guys. And even if he's in a flex, I'm probably rolling whatever wide receiver option you have in either half or full PPR.
All right. So I'm going to flip over to one of my starts, which is one of Jernigan's sits, and I don't understand it. So, all right. So that is, who the hell is that? That is, I don't know. That's Robbie Anderson. Now, I'm not saying that he's your wide receiver 1 or 2. I got him ranked at 29 and 9 above consensus at 38. But I absolutely love him in a start 3 or as your first or second flex. I don't know how you can sit him. He is getting the targets, which for Robbie Anderson, he is not a target guy year after year. And this year he's getting the targets. So, and he's getting them short, he's getting them long, he's getting them everywhere. When you get a guy who can, in a PPR or half PPR anyway, maybe not in a standard, but actually probably even a standard with his potential he can get, but he's getting around 8, 9, 10 targets a game. If he's going to get that and he's going to catch some balls with it, and he can go for a 75-yard touchdown any game, period, how don't you start him as your flex?
Well, I'll tell you how you don't start him.
Get him, Jernigan.
Because those 2 games where he's having blow-up numbers were against Las Vegas and Tampa Bay, who I think Tampa Bay has the tools to be a decent defense, but I don't think they've gelled all the way yet. And you're talking about them going up against the Chargers, who have a very good defense. And by the way, the Panthers don't have CMC in the lineup that the defenses have to focus on.
But I just don't. They have to throw more.
Well, he is going to have to throw more, but how many of those passes is he going to complete? I mean, I just don't think you have elite talent at quarterback. I think that defense is going to be too good. Again, without having to focus on much of the running game. And I just think I'm scared to start any Panthers this week. Obviously, maybe Davis, but I'm a little nervous about that team.
To be fair, the Chargers did hold the Chiefs to 23 points, and the Chiefs are a very capable team. So there is that.
That's right. That Chiefs
a capable team. That's a nice thing to say about Kansas City.
Yeah.
They haven't done much lately, but
that Chargers defense is for real.
Yeah, I think those corners are pretty solid. I get it what you're saying.
I don't normally do this. I'm always good at picking a side and running with it. But in terms, it just to right down the middle. I don't want to see you guys fight and break up the group here.
On the first show.
Yeah, to me, owning Robbie Anderson on your team is a luxury, right? His ADP, a month or two ago was way down. So if you own Robbie Anderson, more than likely it was just a depth piece. You already drafted 4, maybe even 5 wide receivers on your team to begin with. So for him to start the season back-to-back 100-yard plus receiving games is a luxury. So I would start him at your own risk. I could argue both ways, sit him, start him, but at this point, he's a luxury to own. And I would assume all of us here and all of us watching, if it's now or Friday, we have better options. So start him at your own leisure, I would say. To me, if I had to choose a side, I'm sitting Anderson this week.
All right, so here's who I have ranked behind him: Jarvis Landry, Marvin Jones, Jerry Jeudy. That one actually I would question. And Michael Gallup. Sorry, Kyle.
Wrong.
I was going to say I think I might rather have all 4 of those.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I would take Landry and Gallup of that group, but I don't have a problem going with him over Marvin. I think those guys are pretty similar in what they produce as far as just kind of a little boom bust. But I do like the targets Anderson's getting right now, and he's right there with DJ Moore in this offense.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is maybe we should put it this way: is if you're projected to lose by a lot, maybe he's a start, because I think his ceiling is high, but I think his floor is really low.
Yeah, like I think playing him, if I'm looking at my last roster spot, and I want to play it. Say if you could roll somebody out there, like maybe Golden Tate, somewhere like kind of similar to that. Maybe feel a little bit better about him getting 5 to 7 targets and converting those into 5-6 catches versus Robbie A. Might be looking at a little less safe floor, but man, that ceiling is usually pretty high.
All right. Why don't we flip over to one of your other sorry, bashed one of your Cowboys. Why don't you talk about one of your other starts?
Yeah, I'll take it. CeeDee Lamb. It's not a question about if he should be in your lineup as a flex. It should be what other receiver are you dropping out of your wide receiver slot to permanently put CeeDee Lamb there. This guy's already arrived. It's 2 games in. This team is going to continue to chuck the ball. Last week it got publicized obviously big time that high scoring game against the Falcons. That's every week. This Cowboys defense is absolute trash. It will continue to be trash, and they're going to have to keep continuing to chuck the ball. And CeeDee Lamb might already be, if not the number 1, the number 2 option in this offense. And it doesn't mean that all 3 of these guys can't have really nice value, but this week especially, CeeDee Lamb is a must start. He's wide receiver 18 for me. He tied for the team lead in targets last week with 9. And this is from PFF, so I'm not stealing this from anybody. But I found this, and I usually don't just plagiarize stats, but this is awesome. So CeeDee Lamb ranks 2nd in the NFL in snaps in the slot, and he has 10 catches for 132 yards. That's 3rd in the NFL. The Seahawks have given up 412 yards to slot receivers through 2 games. So I just think that CeeDee Lamb is going to completely eat this week. He needs to be in your lineup. I'm playing him over Cooper Kupp. I'm playing him over either Cleveland wide receiver, both Bengals wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Marquise Brown, like all those guys, Keenan Allen. I'm rolling CeeDee Lamb, and I think this is going to be a huge game for all the Cowboys wide receivers. In addition to all the slot wide receivers, man, through 2 games this year, Seattle has given up at least 6 catches and 70 yards to 6 wide receivers in 2 games. I think it's possible that all 3 Dallas wide receivers put up at least that 6 and 70, and with a few of those finding the end zone. So CeeDee Lamb, man, slam dunk start this week.
All right, 2 quick questions. Go ahead.
Sorry, for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, I love to watch college tape and try to figure out where they're going to go in drafts. Like, I'm a big tape guy, and I was lucky enough to be on the SmackDown preseason, and we talked about the Cowboys offense, and I told Kyle, and if I recall correctly, I don't think he believed me, but I said Lamb was going to be the 2nd best wide receiver on this team before the year was done. I had no idea it was going to happen in week 2. Lamb is the real deal. That dude can make plays.
All right, before we flip over to the other Bob for his first controversial sit, at least in my opinion, let's go over to Darren Gray with a question. He says, who you got tonight, the beard or the mustache?
The mustache all day.
Mustache.
I'm going with the Dolphins. We'll see. Anyone listening to the re-air is going to know who's smart here, but I'm going with Miami.
I think it'll be a fun game, period. That's the tough part. These
Fun,
guys
yeah.
are going to. I get to see them on the sidelines just talking crap to each other the whole game, playing with the mustache and
It's
beard.
not going to be a Super Bowl preview, but it's two guys with nothing to lose. That's
Yes,
for sure.
exactly.
That's it.
Well, one guy with nothing to lose, one guy with a lot to lose.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
He has a lot to lose. He's trying to actually not tank for Trevor himself or whatever. I'm not gonna let y'all do it. All right, and before we move on, we'll ask one more. This is from the Smo, and he says, "What about Scary Terry?" I think that's an easy auto start, right?
Yeah.
Top 12 this week.
Wide receiver 2 anyway. Wide receiver 1. There you go. All right, Bob, who do you got for that controversial sit?
So I kind of pulled a couple of controversial sits here.
Yeah,
I
actually you
don't
did.
know which one is which. I kind of I took this through like a DF lens because a lot of the guys you draft them out of stardom. You're not sitting a second or third round pick for someone in most cases. So I'm not sure which guy you're talking about, but I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb
Sure.
as my controversial sit. This Washington team is not good at very much, but the front seven really isn't a joke. Their defensive line is made up of 4 first-round picks, take the 4 last consecutive years. That's 2020 Chase Young, 2019 Montez Sweat, 2018 Deron Payne, 2017 Jonathan Allen. They can get at the quarterback. They can blow up plays in the backfield. No problem. They kept Philly to 57 rushing yards. They kept Arizona running backs to 93 rushing yards. Something about this game tells me that it is not Nick Chubb's day. This is a Kareem Hunt week. Unfortunately, if you drafted, you're probably going to start him. But if you have the option to switch him out, I love Hunt in DFS this week, and I'm sitting. I say sitting in air quotes, sitting Nick Chubb.
All right.
Well, I love that call. This Washington team, the more I watch them, they remind me of Ron Rivera's Panthers teams when he had Josh Norman, and who's turned out, by the way, to look like a crappy cornerback on every other team because the front seven was so good. They blow up everything at the line, and the corners don't have to be good because they don't have to cover for as long as other teams. And they're so much fun to watch. The fact that he is just kind of Ron Rivera, that is, has stepped into a situation so much like those really great Panthers teams, maybe not quite there with the offense, but whatever. But the defense is so similar to those teams. I love watching it.
All right. Before we move on, back to Jernigan here for his next one. Oh, we have some of these dynasty guys on the show. Eddie A, a friend of the show, frequent listener to the live streams, participants, says, shh, no tank for Trevor curse. Flop for Fields is much better.
Flop for Fields.
He's actually on I-80 Sports College. Eddie is one of our contributors on the I-80 Sports College show. Guys been doing a bang-up job there for us. And college football has been a blind spot of mine for a long time. And these guys just listening to them every week, a lot of fun.
All right. Look at that. Eddie getting a little promotion. All right. Jernigan, let's hit up one of your let's go to one of your starts, Mr. Tyler Higbee.
All right. We kind of touched on this before the show started a little bit, that this week is interesting for tight ends. You know, Kittle, even if he plays, I'm not sure where he's going to be at exactly. There's some tough matchups for some other tight ends. And like some of the guys you thought might be good aren't really having good years yet. So, I mean, I guess that makes it a typical tight end year. You don't know who to start.
Sure.
But
it's a touchdown, right?
Yeah. Tyler Higbee, for me, with Cam Akers injured, that run game is going to be, you're not sure where it's going to be at. The Bills have a solid pass defense, which could limit touchdowns to the wide receivers. Higbee could be the benefactor in that. The Rams are playing really good football right now. I still think they're going to get some points. They got to come from somewhere, and I'm just not sure where it's going to come from. And Tyler Higbee, to me, seems like a good dart throw to at least catch a touchdown.
Yeah, I personally like Higbee. I got him up at number 3, but I think it's really, really hingent. Ooh.
Contingent.
Hashtag that bad word. No, hingent. It's a word now.
Hingent.
I am Googling that when I'm done. Hingent.
Hingent.
That's been Bob's word of the week. Hingent.
Got to replace those cabinet hinges.
That's right. Shut your face. On those touchdowns, he's not getting a ton of targets, which is a little scary if he doesn't get the touchdowns. And Cooper Kupp actually comes back to life. So, but touchdown game is the life of your tight ends. So,
one thing I'll mention, not that I like Higbee a lot this week. He's tight end 6 for me. He's obviously had a nice week 2. It's crazy, but he's really shown that he's the guy for the Rams. So if you took the chance on him, drafted him in those round 6 through 8 or whatever, I think you're happy with that. I'm starting him at tight end, but if you're looking like maybe you ended up with 2 tight ends or Higbee fell and you add him to your roster, like just keep for me, make a note like Matt Milano and Edmonds for the Bills. They're 2 linebackers that were out last week that let Mike Gesicki run all over him for I think the second or third most yards in the NFL last week. Is that could limit Higbee just a bit. So I wouldn't get crazy and plug him into a flex over maybe a solid guy that you might usually be playing there. But if he's your tight end, man, you're definitely happy that you have him. And I think that's a great call to feel like he's a for sure start.
Yeah, when you're looking at defense, definitely watch out. That Milano's a tough cookie. Welcome back, Bob. Changes back to the studio.
Woo.
I just dropped that and just kept on rolling.
Feel better already.
It's got the Barry White voice back, so we're good.
Perfect.
All right. Beastie, I think we're at you for your next one. You want to give us one of your starts? You got a few here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one for me is it's a slam dunk, as we've said a few times on this podcast. It's DK Metcalf for me, Seattle's wide receiver. He's a stone cold stud. I've been saying it for months now. I love him to be the guy in Seattle over Tyler Lockett. I don't want to bash Tyler Lockett because that's not what you guys have asked me to do here this evening. But going against,
but he'll oblige.
That's ever stopped you.
Dang.
But I want to shine the light on DK Metcalf. It's not about Lockett. So if you look at what Metcalf has done and what he will continue to do, he's a stone cold stud. He's the wide receiver I'm starting in all formats across the board, and especially this weekend against Dallas, who is they haven't looked good the last 2 games. They squeaked out a win at home against Atlanta last week, and I think DK Metcalf absolutely goes nuts this weekend. I have him. Let me check my rankings real quick. I have him for about 5 or 6 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So you can count the touchdown. I'm willing to go in on a Bob's 3-toed bet. I don't know what that's about, but I'd be willing to bet that DK Metcalf scores a touchdown this weekend. And lo and behold, I have him at about wide receiver. Let me look at about 17 or 18. I would start him, as I said, over guys like Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, OBJ, T.Y. Hilton, and even Hollywood Brown. And again, it's all in close. I said, DK is at, 18, and all those guys I listed are right below him, in those 19, 20 spots. So start DK Metcalf with confidence. And what I noticed about 5 minutes ago while you guys were chatting, and disagreeing with each other, I don't have any controversial starts or sits. All my stuff is just cookie cutter this week. I guess I'm trying to take the week off and just float by, but nothing's too controversial for me today.
All right. Well, let me see if I can help with that matter. My start. This is another flex start. I like those flex starts that aren't the guys you're expecting to put in as that wide receiver 3 or that flex, but it's Mr. Corey Davis this week. I got him at 27. Consensus is 39 on Fantasy Pros. That's 12 up in half PPR. So that's not bad. It's a high-end third wide receiver or high-end first flex, whatever you want to call it. Maybe even a low-end second wide receiver if you got one of the guys that got hurt and you need him. Okay, so Corey Damn Davis, who gives a damn? He's nothing amazing. Okay, sure. But is AJ
Brown?
Damn it, drink.
I got my second one now.
That's a name disease. It's real.
It's a name disease.
It is. So AJ Brown probably won't play. That's going to lend more targets to him. And I can't remember, who are they playing this week? Oh, I can remember. Minnesota. They suck at playing defense on wide receiver. So, fire him up all day long. I don't see why not in the flex. There's your one.
I have to say this about you, Bob. When you pick a guy, you stick to it, and Corey Davis
really
is Corey Davis is the cross you're going to die on this year. And
that and Singletary.
Fair,
Well,
fair.
That one might hurt more, but
So here's the thing though. See, Bob's been listening to podcasts for all these years. But he finally got into the game this year. I think it's just one of those like badges of honor. Like everybody that has a podcast has to at one point tout Corey Davis. Bob's just 5 years behind everybody else, so he's got to catch up.
or like when I say like last week I sat someone that I have particularly I'm sitting this week who I put at 20 and he finished either 20 or 21. I can't remember which. I'm like, I've got to roll with that. It sounds good. But anyway,
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk about that guy when we come back around in two goes. So, Kyle, you want to give us one of your sits? Let's move over to sits for you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with.
You already mentioned McKinnon, so
Yeah. So I'll go with Drew Brees. I think that I've seen a lot of people like really bury this guy already. I don't know if he's somebody that I'm looking to like drop in my leagues now. If it's a 1 QB league, a lot on the wire, like, and you're just playing, you're just all pretty much streaming. Like you can drop Drew Brees in that case, but I'm still trying to hang on to him. But I would try to roster a second quarterback for this week or maybe over the next couple weeks till Michael Thomas comes back. He didn't look great on Monday night against the Raiders, but he didn't have his best target out there, and we all know, he's getting older. But this matchup against the Packers is a team that's kind of kept everybody in check for the most part through the first 2 weeks. Kirk Cousins, who might be even worse than we thought after throwing 3 picks last week. He needed a late touchdowns to pull himself out of that one, under 300 yards, but 2 touchdowns. And then Stafford last week got the early touchdown to Jones, but still only ended up with 2 touchdowns. So I think Brees, he's quarterback 19. He's just not an auto start like he would be most of the time, or we might have thought coming into the season. So if you're listening live, like I'd start the guys tonight, both of them over him, but I'd still start Ryan Tannehill, who was a streaming option that you picked up maybe over the last couple weeks in his matchup, and Trubisky that Bob mentioned earlier against the Falcons. I think the game script's going to help him out a lot. So it feels weird to ever say that we're going to bench Drew Brees in prime time at home, but without Michael Thomas, I'm not against using that extra roster spot to maybe add one of those guys and plug and play and look for a bigger week.
Okay. Before we move on, let's Jernigan, you want to address Eddie A and his comment here? It says Dynasty News, breaking news. 2 top 10 wide receivers in 2021 draft opt back in. Rondell Moore from Purdue and Jashad Bateman from Minnesota will only help their stock.
And I think we're going to see more of this going forward now that more and more schools are coming back and, starting to play and things like that. And I think I feel like I'm risking opening a can of worms, but there is a lot of fear revolving around COVID. And now a lot of leagues are kind of, obviously we're talking about NFL football right now. And that was something we weren't sure was going to happen back then. So I think a lot of guys who have opted out are going to start coming back, and that's great for college football. And Rondell Moore is a complete dude. Rashad Bateman is great too, but this wide receiver class as a whole is just completely outstanding, and I love that these guys are coming back to school.
All right, there we go. And with that, next up, let's give the other Bob his other controversial sit.
Okay, this is a controversial sit until you watch the tape from the week, and that is at tight end. Again, if you draft him, you're not actually sitting him, so I'll say like sitting in air quotes. That's Darren Waller. Definitely something you should stay away from in DFS. So far this year, 18 catches, 148, and a touchdown. It's a great stat line to start 2020. However, he is facing the New England Patriots. Belichick loves taking away any single weapon on a team. Yep. And what else does the team have? Hunter Renfrow, not really an athletic specimen. Sorry, Eddie. Clemson guy there. Ruggs, Brian Edwards, you got a couple of rookies. Darren Waller is the guy, the go-to receiver on this team. You saw the way he was used during last week. Belichick said, and I have the quote, "It's been a long time since we've seen a guy like this." And in this typical Joe Belichick way, you got to read between the lines. The second line that he did not say is, "Watch me shut him down next week."
Yeah, that's a very Belichick thing to do, though, right?
Yeah, I picked up Mike Gesicki, 3 for 30 against New England. Disley, 2 targets, 1 catch for 9 yards. So tight ends haven't been good against New England this year anyway, and I think that's going to be even exacerbated this week. against Bill Belichick.
Do you think would you start Jonnu Smith? Like that's somebody could have picked up even after spending the draft capital on Waller. Like if you had those two guys, would you go with Jonnu Smith or would you still lean Waller, just lower expectations?
I feel like Jonnu Smith is one of the guys that I wasn't in on at the beginning, and I can't get him now. The guy who I looked at this week, we talked about before, Drew Sample. That's kind of my plug and play moving forward. Jonnu Smith should be taken in most leagues.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick before we move over to Beastie, Darren Gray said standard scoring. Would you start Mr. Mike Davis or DJ Moore? Is that crazy? We're talking about DJ Moore versus Mike Davis. DJ Moore is not doing what he was supposed to do.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm staying away. Mike Davis is one of my sits, but I know I didn't plan on talking about him this evening because I have multiple other guys I'd rather sit and discuss. But Mike Davis is going to be a massive letdown to your fantasy teams, whether it's seasonal or DFS. Let everybody else start this guy. And I've seen some wild fab bids the last few days. I'm sure you've seen them too. $60, $80 in $100 fab leagues. He's not going to do. People get they're so emotional about losing Christian McCaffrey, and they don't know what to do, and their head is spinning when they have the guy already. When they have a guy they can start already on their roster, but it's just like people on Twitter or people on Facebook, tell people what to do in a way, and everybody flocks and follows like lemmings. I want to pick up Mike Davis because I can tell everybody on social media I did that. Why even bother? I'm staying away from the guy. I've heard people say, "Oh, he's going to have 5+ receptions." Don't count on it. He's not even going to get 5 targets. That's how I see the things. If you guys disagree, that's the thing. But Mike Davis, I'm fading him, especially in DFS, because people are just going to be flocking to this guy, and it's just a no-go for me.
Can I ask a question of all the guys about this Panthers team that I've heard a lot of rumors, and I just don't know what to make of it on Twitter this week? I've heard people saying that Curtis Samuel is someone that you should pick up for use out in the backfield. How do you guys think about that?
So I would love to comment on that, actually, because the year that he came out with Christian McCaffrey, I had reservations about CMC because Curtis Samuel, the way he runs when he gets the ball in his hands is so similar to CMC. Now, he obviously has not flashed that type of ability, but I think he does a lot of the same things. If he were to carve out a bigger role, I think he can do a lot of those things. I would love it if they would give that guy carries out of the backfield. In fact, he played a little running back in college. And I just think if he gets some opportunity, I think he could really be good. Now, is that going to come? I'm not sure. So he's maybe another one of those guys where I think he's been fairly consistent as far as fantasy points go without looking it up. I want to say he's like 7 to 9 points the first 2 weeks of the season, something along those lines. And I think that's probably a good benchmark for what he's going to do this season, unless he is able to take on that role.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought him up, Bob. Sorry, just 2 seconds. I mentioned Curtis Samuel in bottom of the barrel this week for DFS purposes. He's super cheap on both sites, and I read I-80 Bob that they might get him some carries. And in my projections, I have him for 3 or 4 carries along with 2 or 3 receptions. So why not take that kind of production so cheap for DFS formats? And then I would no doubt, with a shadow of a doubt, flex him over Mike Davis this week.
He's rostered in Curtis Samuel's only rostered in 25% of Yahoo leagues right now. So if you're in seasonal leagues as well, like he's somebody that I would not want to be anywhere near this week, but I definitely like the idea of having him on my roster and seeing like, hey, if he does get those 5 carries and top of some work in the receiving game, man, like he could be somebody that you're plugging and playing because we're dealing with all these injuries. Bye weeks are coming up, man. You can never have enough depth. So if you're just sitting on somebody that you're not thrilled about at the end of your bench, picking up Samuel and just seeing how this backfield plays out is something I'd definitely do.
I'm starting Samuel at flex in 2 leagues this week.
Classic. All right, Jernigan's dropping on the table right now.
Myself,
my prayers are with you.
If I went out and I spent that big money on Mike Davis, it was either because I'm playing keep away against my opponent who had
Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, Christian McCaffrey. Great.
So that was,
the 101.
He's the best player in football.
It's not like I don't know his name. I have a name disease. It's real.
I'd beg to differ that you didn't know his name.
Oh my god!
I think we all know I knew his name. All right, so some Christian McCaffrey guy. I got Mike Davis as my number 17 as a middle two. That's fine at running back. But if I went and spent, it's a little high, I know. If I went and spent the money on him, I didn't do it not to play him this week. I'm not going to sit there and spend half my fab on him, quarter my fab on him, just to leave him on the bench for the 3 weeks that McCaffrey's out. I went out and spent the money because I need him. So you're probably starting him because you don't have anybody better. That's the way I'm looking at it for anybody who had him, unless you drafted him, and I don't think anybody did. So, all right. So now that we're done with that, Brian Hagerman says, which two would you prefer to roster on your bench in non-PPR? As Kyle would call standard, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, or Sammy Watkins. I'm going Fuller and Cooks. Sammy got his 1 game in. I think we're done with him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
All right. That was easy. All right. Let's go over to, we were at BC. Why don't you give us one of your sits? Whichever one you like the spiciest. We probably got time to go around 1 or 2 more times. So
Baker Mayfield. Guys looked awful at first 2 weeks. Cleveland in general. What are they even doing there? And they're playing a Washington football team. Sorry, that is equally or lesser in terms of a good team. So when it gets to the game, I don't think Baker's going to have enough. There's not enough passes to go around here. It's just going to be handoff, because I assume, and I'm projecting them to be ahead in this game. So I'm fumbling my words. You got me all nervous, guys. So I'm sitting Baker Mayfield. It's that simple.
all right. I'm fine with it myself. I'm okay with it. Anybody? You're good. All right, good. All right, cool. Let's go over to Mike Jernigan for a quarterback sit that I personally enjoy.
I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. He has certainly not lived up to his draft capital. You had to get the guy at QB 10 or 11. Yeah, I know you have conference alliances, but this guy has just not looked good this year. He's currently quarterback 25 on the season, averaging 12.69 points per game, in fact. And he's only completing 58.5% of his passes, which is horrendous. I know Cincy is a good matchup for a quarterback to get right, but that team, has a lack of receivers. I'm not super stoked about the running game. Like, I could see this becoming a big Miles Sanders game. I mean, if you're talking about the running game, because it's just I don't really know what's going to happen. And I like Joe Burrow, but just Carson Wentz has looked so bad that I would be scared to start him until you're given reason to otherwise.
All right. I'd love to see a big Sanders game. I'd love it.
Bengals also had an extra 3 days to prepare.
Yep.
True. All right. Let's flip over back to, I think I got everybody 2 times around there, right? I didn't miss anybody. We'll flip back up to me, I think. And I want to start, if I only got time for 1, maybe 2 more, I want to sit, Mr. Zach Ertz. I called him, like Kyle, the big cheesy smile. Yeah, I'm going to claim it, baby. I called him tight end 20 last week. He was 20 or 21. Same difference. Whatever. Off by 1. Sure. I don't think he's done. I don't think he's totally retired, and the tight end has just been handed over to Goddard. But it feels like it's leaning that way. He should get plenty of opportunity, plenty of targets, and do something with it based on the fact that they don't have much at wide receiver. But you just took Jernigan's and my sit, and you add that in there with those extra weeks to prepare, everything else going on, and I'm comfortable sitting him. I got him as tight end 15, just outside the flexes. That's down 12 spots from consensus 3. Anybody hate it?
Are you going? So you're going Jonnu over him?
I'm probably going just about everyone over him, but let me look. 15.
Yeah, Hawkinson.
Are you trying to find another one?
No, I'm just asking. Like, if people are really going to sit Zach Ertz, I just don't like. That's the problem with sitting tight end.
Yeah, sure.
Who do you have? You can sit him.
So you got Jonnu Smith without AJ Green against Minnesota. Yeah, I'll start him. I got him in there at 7. Yeah, damn it. Drink.
Jesus.
All right. I'd start Noah Fant above him. I would start Hawkinson, Gesicki above him, Dallas Goedert, Jared Cook, Jonas Smith, Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Darren Waller. Yeah, there's a lot of names there. I would start above them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. Time will come. I just think that with Wentz, I mean, yeah, I agree. Like Wentz is playing bad. If you want to get away from him, I have no problem with that. If you can find somebody else you want to plug and play for the week, but I think it'll eventually come around. We've seen this offense be productive. We've seen both these tight ends be productive without these other wide receivers. I'm not panicking yet. If somebody is, then I'll go buy a Zach Ertz and not have to be in that streaming game anymore.
Okay. Cook versus Ertz.
Sure. Yeah, Ertz is tight end 3.
Yeah, I have him at tight end 4 this week. Cook at 3, Ertz at 4. So,
all right, interesting. I like it.
All right. Who's next? Kyle.
I'm going to go with a guy that you're probably already looking to get him the hell out of your lineup as it is. But I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton. I had him ranked just outside the top 30. I wish I want to just bury him even more, to be honest with you guys. I think the game script is not going to go his way. They're playing the Jets. We saw last week when they played the Vikings, they took him off the field. They had Michael Pittman out there. Even after Campbell got injured, they had Michael Pittman out there. They had Pascal out there. Hilton only played 42 snaps, which is 58% for the Colts. I think with Hilton and with Hines, unless their game script is going to be that they're chasing points in a big way, it's possible that their value is just not going to be there. So Hilton is disappointed 2 weeks in a row. I think that continues. So you might already be trying to look for alternatives over T.Y. Hilton, but consensus right now over at Fantasy Pros has him at wide receiver 22. So there's no way he's going to be inside my top 24. Like I say, he's my wide receiver 32 for the week, and I'm trying to steer clear of almost everything Colts right now outside of obviously JT.
I take it. Let's flip over to Kyle. Then go down to BC. You want to slide another one in there?
some sits. Yeah, I got 2 back to back. If you don't mind, I can lump them all in the same category. KJ Hamler for Denver and Henry Ruggs for Vegas. Now, if you look at these kids, I know like their long-term prospects they're bright and shiny, but we're talking about this week 3. It looked like on Monday night, Ruggs was just a decoy in a way. And I hate using that term because I find it to be not personally, but it's like a lazy representation, but he was. The kid is quick. He gets out. He just takes off. He takes a safety and a cornerback with him, and he completely clears out one side of the field for, let's say, a Darren Waller. And he didn't do much last week. I don't think he's going to do much this week. Same thing with KJ Hamler. We need to temper our expectations with these kids in terms of this Sunday. Again, long-term is one thing, but week 3 is another thing. Hamler, I have him for 2 or 3 receptions, 20, 30 yards, nothing crazy. I feel KJ Hamler is a wait and see kind of guy. He's on my bench this week. And in terms of Ruggs, it's just a lack of usage with him. And not to mention he's playing New England, and they still have a stud secondary like Stephon Gilmore, defensive player of the year. So I'm sitting Hamler and I'm sitting Ruggs, and I'm not thinking twice.
Before we flip over to my last guy and probably last guy we cover, let's do a couple sit starts for our listeners, viewers that are so kind as to hang out with us. The Samoan says N'Keal Harry versus Keenan Allen. And as long as you're not playing me, I'm going Keenan Allen. Samoan, if you're playing Kyle, I don't care which one you put in. So I got one at 20 and I got Harry down at 52. So I got him just buried, probably lower than you should be looking at it. Kyle's got him around 42. And
I love N'Keal Harry rest of the season, but if you drafted Keenan Allen, you got to start Keenan Allen. He's just one of those guys who's just so electric. You got to play him. That being said, N'Keal Harry, we talked a little bit about earlier, and as far as Panthers go, I dig him. Patriots go Cam Newton. What happened to my audio? Something just.
I heard you.
I got you.
Oh. I heard you. I thought I was going to have to make you drink for a second.
I know. I've been doing that. Cam Newton, New England, has been messing me up. I've called him a Panther about 8 times this season so far. But Cam Newton loves big guys. He loves Greg Olsen. He loves Funchess. No one else does. And that means he's got to love N'Keal Harry.
There you go. I'm gonna start using that line, Kyle, when I get stuck on a player's name. I'm like, "What happened to my audio?"
There you go.
Your
That's right.
headphones off. What happened?
Well, and if I may, I wouldn't mind piggybacking on that
Go
a little
for it.
bit. If you are in a tight spot for quarterback, I think you can do worse than Justin Herbert this week. He had a great first start. But he looked a lot better. I mean, for all the talk we heard coming out of Chargers camp about how he was just not ready to start games, I thought he looked pretty darn good against Kansas City. 311 yards, 66.7% completion percentage. And now he's starting against the Panthers, who so far this season have been pretty porous on defense. It's not a bad stab if you're in a tight spot.
Yeah, great matchup at home against Carolina. I have my rankings up, so I'll just roll through these guys. But I definitely endorse Jernigan's call there of Herbert. I'm playing him over Baker, Daniel Jones against 49ers. I'm playing him over Kirk Cousins, Teddy B, Mullins, Darnold, Carr, Haskins, like all those guys. He's QB 23 for me. And I think the matchup's nice, and really like what we saw from him in that first week. So hopefully it keeps rolling, and people might have fallen into a QB2 in their Superflex leagues.
All right. All right, real quick on the question from Mr. Brian Hagerman. He says, Stafford, Trubisky, or Goff? I'm going Trubisky myself. I'm a little high on this week, and I'm probably a little low on Goff myself. Kyle, I want to take a quick look at that little ranking.
Goff, Stafford, Trubisky, looking at, not to be rude, but looking at my rankings as it stands now.
Goff, Stafford, Trubisky for you.
Correct.
Bob? Bob?
Stafford, Goff, Trubisky.
And just to really mix them up, let's go over you, Jernigan.
The cycle is
Goff,
complete.
Stafford, Trubisky.
All right, I think we hit all the different options.
I'm with Bob. Stafford, Goff, Trubisky. So
the other Bob.
Let's go, baby. Lions are gonna win this game. Revenge game, bro.
That's what they do. They lose to dumpy teams, and then just when you think it can't get any worse, they win big and suck you in.
They're going to win this week. Mark it down, people.
Yeah, they're getting to the point of the season where they're only going to start winning to hurt their draft pick. So,
yeah, there you go.
It's only 3 weeks in. Yeah.
Well, I know for the Lions, that's far enough in.
That's hilarious.
Kyle, you take Trubisky versus Goff. Trubisky for me.
Trubisky versus Goff. I have him 5 spots apart. I'm a little bit lower on Goff than I usually am because usually he's a top 12 staple for me. I got him at 14, but I'm good.
I got him at 21 though. So
yeah, you're a joke.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it. Jackass.
Yeah, Brian in the chat said thanks because we gave him 6 different answers, but I love it.
All right, buddy. It is what it is, man. We have our own opinions and we stick with them, you know. Yeah. All right.
None of those guys were sits, I guess, so that's good, right, for us on the show.
Right.
So that's good.
There you go. Here's the last sit before we sign off, and everybody. We'll just get right to it. Last sit. I'm going Fournette. I don't trust him. I don't trust Mr. Bruce Arians. Woo, got it out there. To say that. Well, he didn't actually come out and say he's the man. He got a little bench time for fumbling. I think he'll be back. So, and I think Fournette will split time. So.
You mean Ronald Jones?
Yep, Ronald Jones. Damn it, you caught me. You caught me trying to hide from it.
Yeah, I'm with you on Fournette as far as I got him at 22. I don't think he's like a must start. He's coming off a really big game, but I played Josh Kelly over him. But I wouldn't I'm not playing any of the other waiver guys. Like I'm not playing Mike Davis or Henderson or Wilson or McKinnon over Fournette. Like I'd roll him there, but he's not like now I have an RB1 now on my team because he had coming off one good week. It was against the Panthers, who we've talked about already on this show.
I'd start Josh Kelly over him. I'd start.
That's all you need to know. Josh Kelly right here.
There you go. All right.
It's the week, man.
There you go. David Johnson's kind of in that area. So,
yeah.
All right. Antonio Gibson. That's probably one little closer for people. I don't know. Hate it. Bob gave me a look like, really? There you go. All right. So before we go, this is every week, different people on every week just for fun, as we usually have done on my show. Me and Kyle will try and be on every week with 3 or 4 different voices on here for some fun. And tune in. You can watch the replay on Friday mornings on both feeds. So whichever one you listen to, you can catch it on. Let's go around the room. Everybody just remind people one more time where you can be found and what you got going on. So Beastie, you first.
Yeah, at Detroit Beastie on Twitter, Chris Robin on Facebook. My bottom of the barrel DFS bargains, scraping the bottom of the barrel, is out now. It's pinned to my profile. My rankings will be out and published on Fantasy Pros tomorrow, along with some really nice graphic cards, which I already have done, just a top 10 at each position. So just trying to spread this stuff out instead of inundating everybody with it in their face, at once. So look for all that tomorrow. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Other Bob.
I'm at I80_sports on the Twitter, youtube.com/I80sports. We're rolling out NHL every Monday, NFL every Tuesday. We have, what else is left? MLS soccer every Wednesday.
Yep.
Thursday. It's a name disease, Bob. It's a real thing.
Frank. It's contagious, baby. I'm worse than Corona.
Thursday, we got college football. We just dropped an episode tonight. Check it out, idsports.com. College football guys doing a great job. And every Sunday, live at 11:30 a.m. That is Eastern time. Thank you for having me, Bob.
Absolutely. And before I move on to Jernigan here, I want to know, and I get to be accountable for this because I'm asking you on the air. When they call you the other Bob, does that offend you?
No. I say I prefer numbers, and then it's like, you got a lot.
Bob
like,
number 2. Now I'm calling you. Piece of shit.
Hey, listen, if we ever went toe to toe, it'd be 5-on-3. So
damn. Respect. All right, Jernigan, over to you, buddy.
All right. At Mike Jernigan 79 on Twitter. That's Jernigan, Jernigan. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Kyle?
Yeah, guys, don't forget waiver wire sniping drops every Saturday afternoon. So if you want to get the jump on the rest of your league, know the guys that you need to pick up before the week's kickoff and that everyone's going to be looking for on the wire the following week. You can get them for free. Check out waiver wire sniping. It's over at Ball Blast. But if you're following me on Twitter at KyleFFFellas, I pretty much just barrage the crap out of your Twitter feeds with that. So there's no way you can miss it. and gonna be back on the SmackDown feed on Tuesday with a quick waiver wire show to get you guys set. But you can always hit me up on Twitter with any start sits at KyleFFFellas. And my rankings are going to be up over there as well. So they'll be linked in the bio.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody listening and watching has had nearly as much fun as we've had. I think we've had a good time on the show. I absolutely appreciate all the guys coming on and making this happen. I appreciate everybody listening and tuning in, watching in, all that good stuff. Appreciate your reviews, your ratings, your stars and your checks and your thumbs up and all those good things. I was looking down when BC put up his hand. I thought you were flipping me off for a second. I'm like,
I would never do that.
Well,
never do that.
You know what the best part about this Bob is that I love is like when it was awesome hanging out with you guys for an hour. I love the people that were in the chat. Hopefully we can see some more people there. But honestly, we get to hang this up and we get to go watch football right now on Thursday night. So you guys, if you want to pregame with us, not pregame show, just pregame because we're all having a good time. Just come hang out with us every Thursday. I love it, man. This has been a ton of fun.
Absolutely. All right. So I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three Toed, on YouTube at Bob's Three Toed Warriors. So make sure you hit those waiver wires, set your lineups, dominate your opponents. Until next week. See you. BC did his drop and run. Love it.